Welcome to episode 254 of the Grip Strip podcast, the Phil's 40 clashing and not Super Bowl edition of the Grip Strip podcast. My name is Philip Matthew. I'm a man. I'm 40 officially as of a few days ago. Your host with mullet hat to lead into the show here after I introduce, or actually coming off my first iRacing podium in my sim racing league yesterday at Summit Point Raceway. And the person that one of the reasons why I wanted to get into this sim thing is because I work with, and one of my good friends is the iRacing Indy 500 champion, computer genius, a gentleman and a scholar, and kind of nuts because he wanted to freeze his ass off with Joe out at Daytona last week during the Rolex 24. His name is Josh Fine. What's going on, man?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Of course, hey, happy birthday to you, of course, a little belated, but celebrating it still, of course, and you're a man, you're 40, that's right, just like Mike Gundy, and you got the Rico Abreu hat on, so credit to you, a lot of respect there, of course, and a little bit of respect to me, of course, because, froze my ass off at the Rolex 24 last weekend, so, lots of stuff happened there, took lots of pictures, and hopefully you'll be able to drop that here in the next couple of days, and Joe took pictures as well, so yeah, both of us creating some photo content. Maybe one day we'll be like what's his name? Jamie Price. We'll be like Jamie Price there. I actually passed by him in the pits before the race. I didn't talk to him, but I saw him. I know he's doing his job and everything and all that. And actually passed by Bozy also. Said what's up. So yeah. So had a good time there at the Rolex, and ready to talk about it and get into it.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into the victory repeat for Porsche Penske Motorsports coming off of their championship last year. The defending race winners get a repeat number 7 car. It wasn't straightforward for the whole race. There were definitely other cars that were fast in that class. The GTD Pro battle devolved with a few hours left, so there was a lot of drama in that class. The LMP2 class also had a lot of drama, and then GTD was pretty much a foregone conclusion with a few hours to go, which is unusual, but hey, it happens. So we'll get into all the classes, what happened at the Rolex. They'll have 6 weeks until Sebring. So some of those drivers that were at Daytona this past weekend will be at Bathurst for the 12-hour. So we'll preview that later in the roundup. We'll review the inevitable Super Bowl matchup of the Eagles and Chiefs, which I sat there and watched with Joe and my cousins and watch Kermit the Frog win that game, and typical Sean McDermott. So we'll get in all that. I didn't watch the NFC Championship game. I was in a go-kart, and then I was in a sim. So I was preoccupied for most of the NFC Championship game on my birthday itself. So that also helps. We'll get into the NASCAR news of the week. Also Indy cars and Formula One. The roundup will be short and sweet with WRC, Bathurst, and Supercross at Anaheim 2 last week. And then we'll go and make we'll preview and make picks. I can't spell, that's great. Preview and picks. And then Josh will let us know all things going on iRacing, gaming, in the sim segment. We'll call it a day. But before I move forward, since I need to practice this, so I'm going to take this opportunity here with the mullet hat, and knowing now that I'm a man, I'm 40, I have to practice this speech for Halloween, but since it's the end of January, plenty of time to work on it. So we'll see how this goes. I want to talk about this article right here. If anyone hasn't read this article, I don't read it. This was brought to me by a mother of children. I think it's worth reading. Let me tell you why I want to talk about this article. 3/4 of this article is inaccurate. Fiction. And this article embarrasses me to be involved with athletics tremendously. And that article had to have been written by a person that doesn't have a child and has never had a child, that has had their heart broken and come home upset and had to deal with the child when he is upset and kick a person when he's down. Here's all that kid did. He goes to class. He's respectful to the media. He's respectful to the public. And he's a good kid. And he's not a professional athlete. And he doesn't deserve to be kicked when he's down. If you have a child someday, you'll understand how it feels. But you obviously don't have a child. I do. Your child goes down the street and somebody makes fun of him because he dropped a pass in a pickup game or says he's fat and he comes home crying to his mom, you'd understand. But you don't have that. Someday you will. And when your child comes home, you'll understand. If you want to go after an athlete, one of my athletes, you go after one that doesn't do the right things. You don't downgrade him because he does everything right, may not play as well on Saturday. And you let us make that decision. That's why I don't read the newspaper, because it's garbage. And the editor that let it come out is garbage. Attacking an amateur athlete for doing everything right. Then you want to write articles about guys that do things right and downgrade them. The ones who do make plays. Are you kidding me? Where are we at as a society, in society today? Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not a kid. Write something about me or our coaches. Don't write about a kid that does everything right, that's heartbroken, and then said the coaches said he was scared. That ain't true. And then to say that we made that decision because Donovan Woods, because he was threatening his transfer, that's not true. So get your facts straight. And I hope someday you have a child and somebody downgrades him and belittles him, and you have to look at him in the eye and say, you know what? It's okay. They're supposed to be mature adults, but they're really not. Who's the kid here? Who's the kid here? Are you kidding me? That's all I've got to say. Makes me want to puke. Thank you. That'll be the first draft of it. Hopefully, as we get along later in the season, we'll sprinkle it in. Because
that was quite a lot there.
I'm a man. I'm 40. That article was garbage, and the editor that put it out there was garbage. I do know about that from my days of writing and working with editors and people who sucked at life. So. Fat pigs that thought that they knew everything about everything and downgraded me. So there you go. That was fun, actually. I've watched that for, what is it, 8? I've seen it for like 18, on and off for 18 years. You know, Mike Gundy.
You've done a good rendition. Like, that was like spot on. Like, you had practice.
I've heard it, and I was watching it. Like, I started thinking about it. I'm like, all right, I have to hear this again. And it's so good. It's the best thing Mike Gundy's ever done in his coaching career, to be fair. He's had top 5 teams. He's beaten Oklahoma, you know, all these other things. He was a quarterback for when Barry Sanders was at Oklahoma State. This is the best thing he's ever done in his coaching career, which probably tells you that He ain't that good of a coach. But, the fact of the matter is, for every person who turns 40 that knows this, that grew up in a time when Gundy's ran happened, everybody has to do this. But for me personally, I have this platform, and we're going to bring it out here. When there's times when we need a little bit of energy, when there's times when we need a little bit of extra pep in the step, I'm probably going to have to use that on my coworkers, because some of them are acting like garbage too. But that's beside the point. Yeah, definitely bookmark this. Yeah, definitely bookmark it. We will go and move to the we'll go and move over to the Rolex 24 at Daytona, going from intense to the intensity of 24 hours of racing. It was a great race, very competitive. You had 3 cars in the end that ended up on the lead lap, 3 cars that were a lap down after 24 hours in the main class. Then you had 3 cars within the same lap in LMP2. Then in GT Pro, there were, 7 cars in GT Pro within the same lap. And then in GTD, there ended up being, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wow. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cars on the lead lap. So that could have went anyway, but really there was 1 car there. So, results: Lawrence Vantor, Nick Tandy, Felipe Nasr, he repeats as Rolex 24 champ by 1.335 seconds over Tom Blomqvist, Colin Braun, Scott Dixon, Felix Rosenquist in the Meyer Shank number 60 Acura. And then their Porsche teammates, Kevin Estrom, Matt Campbell, Matthew Jaminet, the number 6 car, finished 3rd. Pole sitter, number 24 BMW, Raffaele Marciello, Kevin Magnussen, Dries Vantor, and Philip Ing finished a lap down in 4th. The Cadillac Wayne Taylor Racing, number 10, finished 5th, which was Ricky Taylor, Philippe Albuquerque, Brendan Hartley, Will Stevens, and then the JDC Miller, number 85, Yellow Banana, Timon Vanderhelm, Jimmy Bruni, Pascal Verline, Bryce Aaron there. So those were the top 6 guys. In LMP2, the Tower Motorsports car was flagged the winner with Sebastian Bourdais, Alvarez, Job Van Oytert, John Ferrano. But in the end, they got penalized. And the 22 United Autosports car with Rasmus Lynn, Dan Goldberg, Paul DeResta, and Allen got the victory over the Riley 74 and the PR1 Matheson 52 car. In GTD Pro, we had the Ford Mustang get their first win with their GT3 Mustang. Vervzish, Dennis Olsen, Christopher Mies over the Corvette number 3 of Antonio Garcia, Alexander Sims, and Daniel Juncadella. The other Mustang 64 car with Mike Rockenfeller, Sebastian Prio, and Gumby Cindric filling in for one of their regular drivers, got on the podium, proving once again that he's wasting his time in NASCAR. He should be racing in IMSA. But it helps when your dad runs Penske Racing. The Paul Miller number 1, which we'll get into in a little bit, finishes fourth in class, and then the Tommy Milner, Verone, Nicky Katzberg number 4 Corvette finished 7th, and then the 48 car was buried further back, but that'll come into play here in a few moments. Shane Van Gisbergen, Scott McLaughlin, Connor Zilic, Ben Keating, the Trackhouse 91 by TF Sport Car finished a lap behind in 9th in class, just ahead of the GTD winners of Kirchhofer, Kern, Matt Bell, Orle Fidani of the AWA Motorsports number 13 Corvette. So they get the victory in GTD over the Wright Motorsports Porsche and the Harder Racing Aston Martin. So those are all the winners there in terms of and to top the podium for all of them. There were big crashes. And there was issues for cars. A Magnus Racing car had a big crash. The 75 had serious issues early in the day. The Lamborghini blew up, I think, an hour and a half into the race. So that was pretty bad. The number 9 Pfaff Motorsports car was involved in a big wreck on one of the restarts. The number 40 of Louis Delatraz, Jordan Taylor, and Kamui Kobayashi was involved in that same accident, I believe. So, I mean, there were some really good cars that were knocked out. There were issues for some of the cars late in the race, too. But in the grand scheme of things, last year Porsche dominated, and this continues. The Porsche Penske Motorsports team with another victory. But Meyer Shank on their return to IMSA Racing with a competitive result there for their number 60 car. The number 93 was leading the race at times early before they had litany of issues for that car. I mean, I'm looking at it here. The 93 still finished 15th overall, though they were 14 laps off of the next car, and they were 10 laps ahead of Felipe Drogovic, Frederick Vesti, and Jack Aiken in the Whelen Engineering Cadillac. So they were fast. It's just that it didn't work out for them. They got involved in argy-bargy. There was a lot of argy-bargy going on for sure, as Calvin Fish would say, throughout the race. I mean, we can get in. I mean, obviously, Josh, you were there. We can get into what you saw in terms of the prototypes and the Porsche, but the biggest story from the race was the issues for Corvette Racing in their battle, or Pratt Miller Racing with the Paul Miller Racing BMW, where team play was being instituted with the car that was out of contention, and in the process knocked the rear bumper off of the number 4 Corvette. Tommy Milner then, after a penalty was assessed on the 48 car, took the time to put his arm out of the window, or roll the window down and go and flip him the bird, but that didn't. They had to go back into the pits, put more bear bond on there, and their race was over. I mean, that's the residing highlight of the race. There was a couple of those big accidents, a lot of speed for a lot of different manufacturers. I would say heartbreak for BMW, but in the end, you know, you get used to certain brands going out there and winning races. Well, you have Corvette getting a win, you have Porsche winning overall, and then when you look at GTD Pro, Ford finally gets back in winner's circle. And in the LMP2 class, there's still controversy going on as we speak, later in the week after the race itself. So Um, what do you want to look at, Josh? Yeah, and talk about what it was like being there too.
Yeah, just from my perspective, being at the race, just the atmosphere, of course. I mean, it continues to get bigger every year, and it was still the same this year. The pit road actually wasn't that bad. To like, I thought there was going to be a lot of people on pit road before the race on the grid, but I was still able to and I got there kind of late too. I got there like around 12. I really wanted to get there like around like 10:15 or so, but I was a little late getting out of the house, so I didn't get there until like 12, and was able to get onto um the grid there and walk around. I mean, the crowd, around certain cars, pretty big, obviously around Rexy and AO Racing, Dragon. They got the big, which you saw there. I posted on Instagram. They got the big dinosaur costume there, and everything. So there's a lot of people around that, and stuff. So it was still, yeah, pretty big atmosphere overall, at that and everything. So, from from my perspective, the stands were definitely filled with people and everything. So, there was definitely a lot from there. Um, and then yeah, the racing itself. I mean, yeah, BMW up there for quite a bit in that, and then just seeing being the uh, racing throughout it. I was paying attention to prototype, paying attention, trying to get as many pictures as I could through that, and just seeing the different classes compete between each other. I mean, I was really trying to just get as many pictures as I can. So, from that end, sometimes it's a little hard to follow the race from that angle. But, throughout it, I mean, I saw I was eating in the stands, and I managed to just catch the end of the big wreck before the fireworks, and that took out one of the Cadillacs there, and I think Rexy was involved in that one there. So definitely, yeah, that was part of it. We saw. Let's see, I don't know. I mean, I think I can't remember which part. I mean, I saw the '04 like before I left, so I didn't stay for the whole event. But before I left, I did see the '04 with Colton Herta, LM LMP2 there. Break hard into the West Horseshoe and wipe out and wreck. I did see that before I left for the morning, because I ended up leaving in the morning because I had some obligations this afternoon, so wasn't able to stay for the whole deal. But and Joe had left after sunrise as well, so yeah, after that I was not sure I was going to stay that long, but yeah, so I managed to catch that one before before leaving, and just following, trying to get as many pictures. I mean, my plan was wanted to get the Ferris wheel shot. I wanted to get shot in the West Horseshoe at sunset, based on all the research that I was doing. Those are the two places that you needed to be for photos, so wanted to be there for those two shots. And then the kink as well. Try to get some light trails at the track, fireworks. I wanted to get a picture of that. So for me, this was really like more of like just a photo adventure, trying to get that. And I would try to watch the race where I could there, but was able to go up in the stands before the race. Before the race started, they make everybody go in the stands. So I was able to do that. Sat down with some other friends that were there that let me sit down with them for a bit, and we moved around, and then then I went to the infield. So it was all in all, I mean, yeah, great atmosphere at the track, of course. But yeah, the racing itself, I mean, I did see the clip of Kamui Kobayashi overtaking in turn 1 and 2 in the midst of traffic, overtaking the Porsche. I forget which one. I think it was number 6. So that was a great highlight, and shows just how good of a driver he is to take that risk in the middle of traffic amongst slower traffic with the GT cars, and going through that. That was pretty good to see that. I didn't see. I mean, I was watching on TV at home, but um, I saw the. I mean, of course, the Corvette and the BMW. That was, like you said, the most entertaining part of the race. I think by far was Corvette versus BMW, and then they allowed Ford to get away with it. So yeah, a lot of argy bargy there, and I mean, well deserved. I mean, we don't really. I mean, we talk about payback and stuff, and well, the for Corvette sandwiching the um, one BMW from Paul Miller Racing, with about 11 minutes to go in the race, sending him in turn one right there. I mean, that was yeah, well deserved right there with that punt. So yeah, I don't know what BMW with Paul Miller Racing was thinking there, but obviously they thought they could pull some shenanigans and try to get the overall victory with number one, which that happened with 5 hours left in the race. And I mean, still got like, or actually not 5 hours. That was like maybe like 3 hours to go in the race, but still, I mean, ton of time left, and there was plenty of yellows. I mean, we saw, plenty of yellows that happened through that, gave opportunities to Porsche and gave opportunities eventually to Ford to, with Multimatic Racing to go out and win the race. So, yeah, I don't really know what the thought there was with that. And then the other thing I thought of with the battle, especially towards the end, just the overall battle between the number 24 BMW LMDH there with the Penske Porsches. Really got to feel bad for Lawrence Vantor there because they had a fast car throughout the event and they were leading for a good majority of that. But it all kind of went away there. I think they just didn't have the handling there at the end. He overshot the bus stop or not the bus stop. Well, he did that, but he overshot the entrance to turn one a couple of times. There trying to overtake. He had the pass made with about an hour and 20 minutes to go, going into the first corner, but just had too much. I think probably just too much in the draft, carrying too much speed into the corner, in going into turn one, just overshot that corner there. So definitely that was a missed opportunity there to hold on to the lead, because then that gave opportunity back for the Porsche to overtake him there. So that was definitely missed opportunity there. And then eventually they had damage on there, and then it all kind of came apart for them as the tire I think blew up on them, and or they had some damage that forced them to go to pit road. So unfortunate there. And then at the end, Tom Bloomquist and the Acura number 60 for Shank Racing was up there, and I was just hoping somehow that they would be able to overtake, which they got around the 7, but they couldn't get around, or the 6, but they couldn't get around the 7. So unfortunate there. I was just hoping on the last lap that something would happen, like, oh, you'd overshoot the corner, or oh, miss a shift, or the engine just blow up on turn 3 and 4 or something. Just I mean, you hate to see it happen like that, but I was like, hey, I really can't see a Penske win again, with Penske dominating. They dominated the Daytona or NASCAR Championship the last 3 years with Logano and Blaney, and then of course Newgarden winning the Indianapolis 500 the last 2 years. Just man, can't see them win anymore, and of course now they win again. So it is what it is, but he was hoping to see somebody else win, especially if you're there for the event or was there for the event. So it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, looking forward to seeing how the rest of this IMSA season plays out. And I guess we still got 12 hours of Sebring to go, all the other events, and of course seeing just the rest of this racing season play out. Of course, I'll have my photography and still kind of sorting through it, so I'll try to have that out at the end of the week, be sending it out to people, and probably post a good album of that online as well. So yeah, it was definitely a fun race to be at. Now, I will say this, as a sim racer, they did have all the booths in the midway that had their own simulator. Well, we did stop by at the Acura simulator, or station there, and they had their iRacing simulator. And then on the sim, because they have 2 per station or whatever, and the one that I was on almost set the best lap for the entire event. It was 0.15, so it's a tenth and a half off of competing on for the best lap for the whole thing on their sim. But I got an off track, so it didn't even count. So yeah, it's whatever. But yeah, just glad to be back in the Rolex, and of course, just another opportunity to, get better at racing photography and, enjoy great events.
Sounds like a fun time for you and for Joe, and in general, it was an interesting race. A great way to really kickstart the year after you had the Chili Bowl last week. But we're not really able to see that unless you have whatever, I forget what that the website or whatever it is that you have to subscribe to, but
Flow Racing.
Flow Racing, yep, thank you. So there's that. So now we got that going. We're now getting ready for the Clash this coming weekend, because there's a week off due to the NFL Championship weekend, where the Philadelphia Eagles dominated against Washington General Redskin Commanders. I think Saquon Barkley's still running for touchdowns and sticking it right in John Mara's ass. And then Kansas City, whether it's you want to do Kermit the Frog, Andrew Ryad, Kels, his girlfriend, Chris Jones, Josh Hawley's boyfriend, Harrison Butker, whichever one you want to go with, they own the Buffalo Bills, not the Pagulas. The Kansas City Chiefs own the Buffalo Bills. And even though Josh Allen played pretty well, he didn't play good enough on Sunday. The second half of that game was quite disappointing. It's typical of Sean McDermott. Honestly, if the Dallas Cowgirls are going to get rid of Mike McCarthy for winning vast majority of his time there, winning double-digit amount of games, then McDermott not being able to close the deal in the playoffs and basically losing to Kermit the Frog and the Chiefs every single year, getting out coached. I was thinking about this, over while it was going on and even leading up to it and afterwards, because you actually, the 29th of January was 30 years since Steve Young's 6 touchdown performance in Super Bowl 29, which as of now is the last time the 49ers won a Super Bowl. The year before that was the last time the Buffalo Bills made the Super Bowl. If there had been the other two teams that won, it would have been a rematch of, I think, Super Bowl 25 or 26. It's Super Bowl 26. Because then they played the Dallas Cowgirls 2 straight years, after that. So, I mean, it's unfortunate for Josh Allen being one of the best players in the league, possibly an MVP candidate, to go and not get the job done again against the Kansas City Chiefs. For the Redskins, Commander Generals, Jaden Daniels is a Rookie of the Year. He's their franchise. There's definitely hope for them long term. There's going to be people that want to play there. Josh Harris is going to bring people in and it looks like there's a really good chance or opportunity for RFK. It's not RFK, the one that's trying to end all health rules here in this country. The stadium named after his father, being remade, or they're bringing the team back to DC, which would be huge for this team, this franchise, because when they were winning, when they were a great team under Coach Gibbs before he became Reverend Gibbs, That's where they played, and Jaden Daniels would be able to go and own the town, kind of like what Alex Ovechkin has for 20 years. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really catch much of the NFC Championship game. I just saw some highlights or saw a little bit of it. And yeah, the AFC Championship game was a typical disappointment that comes with watching the Buffalo Bills try to play Kermit the Frog. But it's just frustrating. I think another thing I just remembered was the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs knew the sneak play that Buffalo runs and where Josh Allen runs it to. And Sean McDermott insisted on using that same exact play, I think, 6 or 7 times in that game, which might be one of the worst, most egregious examples of like coaching negligence ever. Not because Josh Allen isn't capable of getting that. I mean, you're literally telling him, oh, you have to go against one of the 5 best defensive linemen in the whole entire effing league, and you're going to give him leverage against the left guard to go and blow you and the left guard up. And you did it 7 times. After it didn't work the first time. I go, okay, first time, all right. Second time, meh. After that, however many times, I feel like it was 7 times, it didn't work. You don't change the angle. You don't change which way you go. You don't make it an option play. Oh, and then not having James Cook in the game on 3rd downs because you insist on having Ray Davis or whoever the hell the other guy was. James Cook is destroying them, and you don't have him in on every down in an AFC Championship game? Like, really? I don't know. What did you take away from those games, Josh? I mean, the Buffalo Bills, John McDermott's still the coach. Brandon Bean is still there. The Pagulas are not trying to rock the boat here. But I honestly thought that, and I don't think Josh Allen wants to either, but really, I think if Josh Allen really wanted to win, which I know he really does, but if he really, really wanted to win, I think he would have went and taken his offensive coordinator and they went up there and said, hey, make him the head coach. We'll go and get a real defensive coordinator and run it back with whatever we'll have left here. But yeah, next week, which we'll talk about, preview the game in more detail. It'll be a rematch of a couple of years ago. Few different players in this, but Philly and Kansas City, Josh.
Matchup that we wanted to see, but I mean, the AFC Championship game, I really felt like that the Bills, overall, their strategy, the way that they were playing as a team, seemed like they were playing scared in a way. And it seemed like they really, because they're haunted by the Chiefs continuing to defeat them in the playoffs. So yeah, from that end, yeah, just they played scared, and Josh Allen seemed like for the first half, it looked like the old Josh Allen from 2019 and 2018 came out here, not the one that figured out how to change his throwing motion and didn't throw as many picks. Now, the one that, Jalen Ramsey said was trash was out there for the first quarter and a half. So that was definitely not what I was hoping to see there. And then you talk about like they got back into the game. Like, I thought this game was going to be over, but they got back into it. But they also just went for 2 too many times. The first half going for 2 there, I think that was the wrong move. Because definitely if you miss the 2, then you got to keep going for 2 because you got to make up for the lost points there, because now you don't have 4 or 2 points, you got to keep doing that. So they missed going for 2 twice in a row. That put them in a hole there, and that could have helped them even in the final parts of the game there. That could have helped them. But the quarterback sneak there, I mean, yeah, you're right. They used it too many times. I mean, I honestly thought that the last one, the 4th and inches, I thought they got that. It really looked close. It looked like they got that, but the officials just didn't see it that way. And I mean, that's a ruling that I'm gonna have to disagree with. And I think a lot of Buffalo fans are probably, because I think on camera it definitely looked like he crossed the line there. But I mean, they didn't even pull out the index card for that because that was really close. They should have pulled it out.
They had two different.
Yeah.
The chains were in two different spots. The officials were in two different spots.
Yeah.
And it was typical Kansas City getting calls.
Oh yeah.
Situation there.
Yeah. And from that end, I mean, now that Philly is one in their team, I mean, they're the teams they're the team that has figured out the tush push, and they continue to use it because they have the personnel to do it. And they got one of the best. I mean, Josh Allen is a rushing quarterback, but Jalen Hurts is probably arguably one of the I mean, if you want a guy in short yardage, you either pick one of those guys to pick up the first down. And just the way that the Eagles have figured this out with under Nick Sirianni to do this, they they know it better than anyone else, and they seldom do they ever get stopped running that play. Whereas I think other teams like the Bills, you can kind of tell the Bills don't execute it, even though they were able to do it multiple times. They don't execute it as well as the Eagles there. So the Eagles, they'll have that challenge of going up against Chris Jones and the defensive line, and I guess Steve Spagnuolo, who's supposedly a genius when it comes to defense, which I guess that's true. They did stop him because he was on the he was the defensive coordinator for the New York Giants when they defeated the 18-0 and now 18-1 New England Patriots back in 2007. So because people thought Tom Brady was going to automatically win the Super Bowl that year, and then the New York Giants had something else to say about that. So I guess Steve Spagnuolo is probably one of the best defensive minds that we've ever had. So we'll see what they're able to do to cook up a stop there on the goal line, because eventually there's going to be a goal line play where the Eagles are going to run the tush push to pick up the first down or pick up the touchdown easily. So we'll see how they stop that there and how they did it, because we've seen it before. They've been able to stop it, or they have been stopped on multiple occasions in the past, but they're so good at it because the Redskins or the Commanders, I'm so used to saying it the other way, but the Commanders, they had that opportunity with in I think the fourth quarter where just 3 plays in a row they kept running it, and I think the Commanders just couldn't stop it, and they were gonna try to jump the play, and ended up working out for them, and then it got so bad that the ref was like, "We're gonna just award them a touchdown if you keep committing the penalty there." And so that was crazy. So just a part there that was definitely disappointing to see the Chiefs win. And you mentioned the officials though, which I mean, if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl and they pull off this 3 in a row there, I got to say, I mean, the NFL is probably rigged. They've been saying it for a full year now. Like this, the second that the Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year, they're like, oh, they're got to go for 3 in a row, and this whole year has basically just been a setup for the Chiefs to go for the 3 in a row. And I mean, they haven't played that well on offense. The Eagles have a good defense, so we'll see. But the way that the Chiefs have played and gotten away with calls this year, it's like, and they're the number 1 seed and everything. It's all set up, I feel like, for them to do the three-peat, and then say that, their first team ever, Patrick Mahomes is gonna be the first quarterback ever to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. How dominant is he, and all that stuff. So and I mean, people are gonna complain about the Taylor Swift factor and all that stuff, but I mean, that's just the hook. That's the hook for the casuals. The real ones are going to care about, how easy it was for the Chiefs to go through this and get 3 in a row. So, and crown Kermit the Frog, which I don't think, there's going to be a lot of debate on who's the greatest quarterback of all time. I still think it's number 12, but I don't think Patrick Mahomes is quite up there yet. Just because I feel like his style of play, he's just gotten away with so many stuff over the years. Whereas, he's changed his style of play, but, at least 2018, 2020, 21, Patrick Mahomes is definitely those no-look passes. Some of those were real risky and should have been intercepted. I'm going to tell you that. So that's what I think there. But, the Commanders and the Eagles game, the Commanders, they had an opportunity to get back into the game multiple times, but it just got away from them. They had too many turnovers, and they just didn't have, quite the firepower. You can kind of see the mismatch in the roster where the Commanders are still rebuilding in their team, and they've just had great play overall from their core of players. Where the Eagles, they've been stacked for years now, and despite all the mistakes and that we've seen Nick Sirianni teams implode in the past, and despite all of that, they've still managed to get here and to get to the Super Bowl. So you could see kind of the difference in the Eagles just continue to pour it on there. I thought it was unnecessary, and they hung 50 on them there. So disappointing there. And sure, if you listen to Dale Jr. download, you can tell Dale Jr. was disappointed, and he was steaming after the way he was tweeting. He was steaming after that one. So I was, I just, for the Dale Jr. factor, was hoping for the Commanders to pull that one off, but it's not how it happened. So yeah, this Super Bowl is basically going to be, just a quick 30-second synopsis of how this is going to go. It's going to be a very defensive game. It's basically just going to be a battle between coaching and play calling and all that, because it's going to be a very defensive game, and it's just going to come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes. And the Chiefs, well coached under Andy Reid. The Eagles, not quite as much, but do they have the ability to on defense to stop the Chiefs enough and allow Jalen Hurts to just do enough and Saquon to do enough? And that's going to be a factor there, is stopping Saquon and stopping the tush push. So yeah, that's all going to be a factor there in the Super Bowl, and just going to come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes. But hate that it's the Chiefs and the Eagles, and I guess rooting for the Eagles now to defeat the Chiefs. I guess they're the underdogs again, like they were in 2017, maybe. So
Yeah, but I think the difference is there's not as much juice against them, because there's plenty of people, plenty of fans, everybody in the NFC East. You got people that are rooting against them. It feels like the Patriot Giant Super Bowls, where it's a no-win situation. There's no way in hell I'll ever root for a team that beat the 49ers in a Super Bowl. The Eagles, minus, portions of their fan base, I haven't generally had an issue with them, but I don't really care for Sirianni. I don't really think that much of Hurts either, and some of their players, and I respect Saquon for what he's been able to do, but he's just that good anyway. But it's funny, my cousin or boyfriend's a Philly fan, and he's having a Super Bowl party, and I'm like, I missed out on his birthday because I had issues, and so I kind of feel like I have to go, but I'm like, I don't want to, because I just don't want to watch this game. I really don't care. I didn't watch the game a couple of years ago, and I didn't feel really that bad about it when they won the first of the three. Last year, I took years off my life to watch what happened there. So we'll see what happens. Talk about it more next week. Okay, so we will move forward to NASCAR news. or as they say on the Kelsey podcast, news. We have the Clash, of course. Bowman Gray will preview that more later. TNT and Max are going to have a driver cam channel, it looks like. So that'll be something if you subscribe to Max. There's sponsor news for Dennis Hamlin, for John Hunter, Kyle Busch, Ty Dillon, who's going to have a primary partner for a good amount of his season. Lance Snacks is going to be back in NASCAR. They'll have major associate sponsorship on Chase Briscoe's 19 Toyota for JGR, and then he will also race one Xfinity race at Charlotte in May, driving a Lance Snacks car. Of course, for many years, Lance Snacks was a sponsor in the Xfinity series, the Busch series. So that'll be cool to see. Hopefully they do a throwback. There was many good Lance Snacks schemes in the day, so plenty of options there. So you just have to ask Dale Jr. For you, Josh, I think you know Bill Weber from his time being the lead announcer for NBC, TNT as well. For me, I go back to his days being a reporter for Inside Winston Cup, the show that Ned Jarrett hosted on TNN. And he was on there, and then he went to ESPN. He was one of the pit road guys. He became the third pit road guy with Doc Punch and John Kernan. So I remember Bill Weber going all the way back then. Unfortunately, the news came out he passed away. So our condolences to his loved ones. There's a couple other people in the media, NASCAR media or motorsports media, passed away here recently. So it's unfortunate. It's life. It's a part of life, of course, but it's always sad to see. North Carolina Education Lottery will sponsor the Xfinity race at Rockingham. We have NASCAR 25. We'll have, what is it? Oh, okay.
Xfinity truck in ARCA.
Yeah, so that'll be something I think you'll talk about later, Josh. Candy Cane randomly is coming back to NASCAR, coming back to one of his favorite tracks, the place where he made his first big splash in a cup car, finishing second to Matt Kenseth in 2004 in one of his first races, driving the 9 car for Evernham in his rookie year. And I think he's won there in a truck in the past. So, I mean, I know Larson did too. He won there in a K&N car, and he won in a truck. But Candy Cane will come back. He's running the full world. He's running the full No Limit series or High Limit or whatever.
Cars.
But yeah, because that's the what the hell's his name? Brad Sweet series. So that's Brad Sweet's team. His owner is Kane. So going to run the full season there, but then he's going to actually come back and run that race. So that'll be interesting. That guy looks like a tranny. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's something. Okay. Sorry. I just was scrolling down further on probably that was part of the. If you ask RNJ, he was probably responsible for the unfortunate tragedy that took place over the Potomac last night, where a plane and helicopter, Army Black Hawk helicopter crashed, which is horrible. But dipshit McGee uses it as a way to go after former presidents and diversity, equality, and inclusion practices. That Dale because Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, because he has common sense. Oh yeah, he has common sense when he goes and orders the Big Mac combo or the Whopper combo, because he's had that about 9,000 times each. That type of shit. Yeah, with 2 or 3. But Parker Etzloff will have whatever visual pack companies on his car for Alpha Prime, running the 4 now. Ryan Truex Jr. Will be running for Sam Hunt in the number 24, their second car, because they got Dean Thompson there to wreck every week. Let's see. So Dash for Cash in Xfinity will be at the qualifying race will be Las Vegas, then Homestead, Martinsville, Bristol, and Rockingham. The Triple Truck Challenge will run concurrently or whatever. So that'll be Martinsville, Bristol, and Rockingham. All 3 national series can compete in those races. Bonus will be where drivers are battling for points in that respective series. Oh, okay. Well, it's a delineation, because I guess that's because they want to have as many good people as they can get in the Rockingham race weekend there. So that's probably what that one is about. Okay, yeah, Kyle Sieg retiring. Yeah, what a shock. Young's Motorsports will have Stephen Parsons and some guy named Nathan Bird will join second truck program. They don't know how many races he'll be running. This Nathan Bird will be driving 0, 2, and 15 of the 23 races. So don't know who the full series who is going to be in there, but at least for Stephen Parsons, he gets a few races there. So Riggs, yeah. So now Lane Riggs will be driving the number 34 this year, and then bringing his whole team over. The second truck will have the number 38, which will be Chandler Smith, and so be a formidable duo, I would think, going into the 2025 season. Those two together, so that'll be interesting. Andres Perez de Lara, the ARCA Menard Series champion from last year, will race for Spire in the 77. So that'll be interesting to see. And there's a couple other start and park people. At least the VFW will be on that. That'll be cool on the one truck there. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's anything that really stood out other than and then also the NASCAR channel came out. I think that was last week, but yeah. So, I mean, those, I think the new technology that they're trying to introduce into the broadcasting, trying to get more premium options to, I guess, get away from the constant commercials and poor coverage that have plagued NASCAR in recent years. This is the way they're trying to go about it. They're not changing the playoff, for better or worse, but they're trying to go and change a presentation.
Just the presentation there. And I mean, it sucks that you have to be a Max user, because like I saw, like, yeah, if you're a Max subscriber, you'll get that in-car driver in-car camera or whatever that they had with the four-way view or whatever it is. So I'm not a subscriber to Max, so I'll have to either get that or figure out a way to see that. But I mean, it's good that they're expanding in the available content and the streaming platforms and stuff. But we'll get into it with the Fox stuff. It's just the contrast and how it's being marketed, I think, is just the where NASCAR is lacking right now.
Yeah, well, marketing and what the genius group that they have there, it's asking a lot for sure. It's interesting you talk about marketing, Josh, because in contrast to what NASCAR has been doing, we forgot about those. I forgot about those two. Sorry. They announced the sponsorship with Red Fool coming back in the NASCAR with Trackhouse and SVG in Cup, but they are with Connor Zilic because he's a Red Bull athlete, and he will make his Cup debut at COTA in March. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes for him. Of course, one of the biggest prospects in NASCAR in general, because he's a wheelman. So that'll be interesting to see. Jimmy Johnson with partners has become the majority owner of Legacy. So he's going to run 2 more races to get the 700. Hopefully, if he can make the Daytona 500, which looks a lot more difficult than it was probably a couple months ago. And then the Coca-Cola 600, which has been 2 races that are 2 of the majors, 2 races that have definitely defined his career, especially Charlotte, but would be a 700th and final Cup Series start. It seems like he says that he wants to race more, but I don't think when you're a majority owner of a racing organization, that's gonna be able to work. Tony, I think it got to a point where, well, I think more because of the injuries and all the crap that happened to him, it was not working anymore. Like Bobby Rahal was washed by the time he kept on going all those years. I'm trying to think of driver owners in modern era. There really isn't. Ricky Rudd is probably, that's going back. And then by the end of his time, it was a struggle for him to keep. He finally lost his consecutive years win streak. That was during the days. He was one of the last ones that held on as an owner driver. Bill Elliott gave it up. There were other guys. I guess Brett Bodine held on for years, but he sucked. We'll see what happens with that. I was trying to go and use a segue about marketing and use that to go to what Fox is doing with IndyCar. They used Joseph Newgarden and connected sperm in a commercial with Joseph Newgarden.
Tom Brady.
And Tom Brady, yeah, so that was great. So now they had a Hello Pillow ad this past weekend. So you're promoting the 2-time defending Indy 500 winner. You're promoting a 2-time defending IndyCar Series champion. So there's definitely a push, knowing that Fox is going to have every race this year. You have the new announced team, which is essentially the same announced team, except Will Buxton's going to be the lead announcer. We don't know who the pit road people are going to be. Caitlin Binsey just came out on her Instagram and said that she'll be back on pit road for the first time in many years, so that'll be interesting. Not sure which series that would be, because I think she does the hosting for the pre and post in the truck series. So there's no Xfinity anymore, so I guess that means she'll be doing pit road work for Cup. I don't know, because they've been running lean.
Or truck or Xfinity.
Or maybe she'll do it. She'll do what Krista Voda used to do, where she'll host the pre and post at the track or something, and then that might be what that is. So I'm curious to see how that'll be for her. She's one of my favorites in the media, not just because she's hot, but because she's good at what she does. But yeah, so there's Fox has to announce their pit road, people. So we'll see what happens with that. In terms of the IndyCar testing, they were testing at Thermal. The Prema team was testing at Thermal. I'm not sure who else was there, but
was there, I think.
Okay, yeah. So there, that actually goes and gives them a little more time, because you're going and trying to figure out that track. They used it as a one-off track or whatever, as a exhibition last year. Now they're gonna use it as a regular circuit, so that'll be interesting to see how that all comes off going into this year. It was a very tight circuit, very difficult to pass, though I'm curious if or what is going to change about that going into this race that they're going to have in March. And then the Scott Borchetta, who had been the promoter of the Nashville race, now that it's out of the town itself and now at Nashville Super Speedway, IndyCar and Penske Entertainment Group are going to take over the promotion, which the series having control and promotion of the race is probably a good thing. Having Green Savory promoting a bunch of races, that's a good thing, because they understand the sport. Instead of leaving it to somebody else there. But I think we announced that Jacob Abel was going into one of the cars, a 51, I believe, for Dale Coyne for this year. So it'll be another rookie in the series, coming off of a great campaign in Lights, Indy Next, whatever, Lights, Indy Next. So bringing his funding and then whatever to Coyne. So that'll be another interesting name to look at, young name. There's a lot of rookies in Formula One. There's a lot of rookies in IndyCar this year, so a lot to look at there. Formula One, Johnny Herbert was dropped as a steward. they say he was dropped because of incompatible media punditry. Don't get why it matters that he's a member of the media when he was a member of the media for all those years. I don't even think he works for Sky anymore either. So it's like, why are you getting rid of him? He's one of the only ones that actually has a clue, and can be impartial, unlike Derek Warwick or some of these other hacks. The guy understands racing. He's a winner, and he won in Formula One. So what are we? And he's connected to the sport. He understands the drivers. He's able to see things that others aren't able to. But, it's kind of like going into the whole officiating thing with the Chiefs. With F1, they have two sets of rules. They have the rules for fish lips and they have the rules for everybody else. Knowing that fish lips is not going to have the direct advantage that he has had the last, 2 and change years. Maybe even going back to 21. So you say 3 and change years. I have a hard time believing that F1 is going to do their due diligence and actually put people that'll go and penalize him for his actions, which to me is negligent, but they don't really care, and that's part of the problem. And when he goes and hurts someone, that's when they'll do something about it, and that's why that's a big issue. Lewis Hamilton going and he had his initial test and it was very successful at Fiorano. I think more fans showed up to Fiorano than and then they had a test at Barcelona. And he ended up wrecking the car, which didn't help anything for them, unfortunately. Which, it happens, but, when you're trying to get laps, when you're trying to get, that kind of time and in the car when you're not, familiar with everything they have going on there. That's a brutal situation for them. But at least and it hurt Charles Leclerc because he wasn't able to go and run. But I do think that for Lewis, it'll all come around. He's been at this for God knows how many years. He's a man. He's 40, and so I think he'll be all right in general. And Ferrari will be all right. It's not the new car, so it's not like they lost that kind of like information or opportunity. But it's just unfortunate losing that time of having to establish that rapport with the team. So that is what it is, though. But in the end, so that's Formula One news. Was there anything that you wanted to add, Josh, in regards to IndyCar Formula One that missed?
Really, just on that ad campaign by Fox, though, which they've done a great job so far with that, and can't wait to see what they have because they're doing one with Pato Award, so I think that one's going to be because obviously there's a lot of grievance with how they're marketing Pato or how they were marketing him, but now that Fox is doing it, we'll see what kind of gimmick they come up for this ad to, showcase the uniqueness of the IndyCar drivers and all that. But then also, hopefully, and we've seen other people talk about this. Hopefully, IndyCar takes this cue to produce good marketing content and also, help carry the load along with Fox and not just rely on Fox, because Fox keeps doing this, eventually this is gonna kind of taper off. If Fox keeps doing it on their own, IndyCar, they have to do the same and be able to, do the same effort from Fox and all that, because it's a partnership, right? You have to be able to both carry your weight on both ends, and so hopefully IndyCar side, they have better marketing this year, and we see more viewership to the series compared to the past when it was on NBC.
Yeah, I mean, the NBC did what they could, but it wasn't the same level. Fox has always done this when they get a new series or a new league. They take other people's gimmicks too, like they took Round Ball Rock for college basketball, but now that the NBC is going to get back into NBA, I think they're not allowed anymore, but I haven't watched college basketball very much this year, or let alone on Fox or FS1. It'll be good to see them and see what they do, but I think what they do in subsequent years, as much as will be like what speaks to what they're able to do, because they've done their part in like killing I don't know how many sports in terms of their coverage. So hopefully they're able to do a good job, and hopefully they're able to go and do the Indy 500 justice, because it's the Indianapolis 500. It's the biggest race, one of the biggest races in the world, if not the biggest race that everyone knows. You don't want to go and leave that to chance, going and having bad coverage or whatever. I don't think that would be appropriate way for things to go down for them, going and providing coverage. But I also am a pessimist in regards to Fox in general for many reasons. But so we'll see what happens with that. Rally Monte Carlo, getting into the roundup here. It was a great opening to the season for the WRC and the new cars that they have. In the end, it's Sebastian Ogier getting his 10th victory in the Monte Carlo Rally for Toyota there, and he won the power stage as well. So I think that's maximum points or thereabouts. Sebastian Ogier over Efren Evans. Adrian Fourmeau in his debut for Hyundai was third. Former two-time world champion Kalle Rovanperä was fourth. Tanak was fifth. Defending world champion Thierry Neuville had issues and finished sixth. The first Ford with McElrain finished in seventh. The leading Rally 2 car was only 11.7 seconds behind in eighth. So that was 07 Rally 1 cars finished. Cars that didn't. Trying to see, so Sami Pajari, Gregor Munster, Takamoto Katsuda all did not finish the race. So their next rally will be Rally Sweden Valentine's Day weekend. So that'll be when the Daytona 500 is as well. You had some MotoGP previews of teams and whatever. They're going to keep on doing that as we get closer to MotoGP. So we'll get into Anaheim 2, and then last week, and Glendale this week. The results for Monster Energy Supercross in the 250 main, Hayden Deegan, Danger Boy, gets the win over Julian Beaumer, Cole Davies, Jordan Smith, Cody Schock. Joe Shimoda was 6th. Drew Adams for the best Kawasaki, Hunter Yoder running out top 10 a lap down. So Deegan getting that victory to get himself off the schneid, so to speak. In 450s, Jet Lawrence gets the win over Ken Rocks and Jason Anderson. Chase Sexton was 4th. Hunter Lawrence was 5th. Eli Tomac went into the race with the red plate, but only ended up 7th behind his teammate Justin Cooper and just ahead of his other teammate Cooper Webb. Malcolm Stewart 9th. Justin Barsha was 10th. The Betas finished 12th and 13th. Yeah, so there was a Plessinger issues. Yeah, so the points heading into this weekend in Glendale in 250 West, Beaumer has a 7-point lead on Deegan. Jordan Smith is 9 points behind Beaumer in 3rd. Then Joe Shimoda's 13 points back in 4th. Then 17 points to Cole Davies. In 450 points, Ken Roxon gets the red plate by 3 over Chase Sexton, 5 over Jet Lawrence and Eli Tomac, 10 over Cooper Webb, and then 13 over Jason Anderson. So still very close 3 rounds into the season. See what Glendale and the first indoor event will bring for the Supercross riders. The last thing is Bathurst 12 hours, so go and look it up. 12 hours 2025. That will, so the entry list. So you have not full detailed entry list, but Bill, we don't know who the drivers. I wouldn't know who the drivers are. You're going put. Some of the guys I would know, but not all of them. Counting down to the Fincher race switch from a production car for a GT3. There's slightly different 23 car entry down from 7. Some of the names of regular 12-hour drivers, Christopher Mees, Van Tour, and numbers are not much. 19 GT3 is invitational GT victims of their own race. Okay. Considering one. Yeah, GT4 providing all 3 entries are guaranteed a podium result. While KTM has invitational class to its own with its Expo. Another factor, so entry list, maybe smaller quality looks high. Matt Campbell, Given, Picarello, Bathurst rookie Lauren Heinrich, Morris Schuring, with 2 bronze drivers, a Manti entry. Porsche, I think he's in Bathurst. 75 Express. Kenny Abel. Lucas Stoltz, Jules Gounon. Group M with the Maro Engel, Grenier, Maxime Martin, Lucas Auer, Maximilian Goetz, and Ryzen Supercars driver Jaden Ojeda, or Hada, Scott Taylor Motorsport, Craig Lowndes, Cam Waters, and Thomas Randall. Craig Lowndes at 50 trying to win on the mountain again. Hawksworth, Dean Fiore, best until Melbourne-based for Brock Feeney, Liam Talbot, and Ricardo Feller, Team WRT, so Valentino Rossi will be in the race along with Raffaele Marciello and Charles Weirtz. 32 Vanderlyn brothers, Kelvin Sheldon, along with Augusto Farfus. Ferrari, Daniel Serra, Will Brown, and Chaz Mostert. Then there's changes, so those are, you have some mix of the regular sports car guys, and then you have the you have some of the bronze and silvers, and then you have that. So a couple GT4, 3 GT4s there, so that's Porsche. You got Mercedes, Taylor, the James Hunt, D'Alberto, and Wall Racing Lamborghini. Vantage Team KTM, Cardinitis or Kunda Ruiz, Russell Yulden, Pro-Am category, T4, the Mercedes harder race. So they are actually running a Mercedes, not an Aston? Really? That seems weird. I think that has to be a misprint. So it's a smaller entry list. A lot of the supercars drivers there. We'll see what they can do. All right, so let's move on to the Clash. The Clash being at Bowman Gray Stadium. First time they'll be hosting a cup race since the 70s. There will be 39 cars for this event, so trying to qualify, get 20 into one of the 23 main event spots. What is it called? Joey Logano's already locked in to the race because he was the defending series champion. You'll have Chastain running a Trackhouse sponsored one car, Gumby Cindric with Freightliner, Bald Spot Dylan with Bass Pro and Winchester, True Timber for Noah Gagson in the 4, Bill Submarines for Keselowski, Fraternal Order of Eagles for Haley. I think whatever that new sponsor that Kyle Busch announced is going to be on the car this weekend. Napa for Clyde, the Seabass sponsorship for Ty Dillon, Hamlin with Sport Clips, Great Lakes Flooring and Menards for Ryan Blaney. You'll have multi-time modified champion at Bowman Gray, Tim Brown in the Rick Ware Racing number 15 with his local sponsors. Campers in RV for AJ Allmendinger and his return back to the Cup Series with Trent Owens as his crew chief. Kroger and Treetop will be on Christopher Buescher's car. Chase Briscoe, of course, the Bass Pro. Christopher Bell, Mobile One. Josh Berry doing a throwback to one of the woods itself at Bowman Gray for one of the car that they raced at Bowman Gray. It's Shell Pennzoil for defending series champion Joey Logano, Lidos for Darrell Walsh Jr., Liberty for Wilton Byron, Todd Gillen in the 34 with Long John Silvers, Monster Energy Zero Sugar for Riley Herbst, Zane Smith with Speedy Cash, Cole Custer, Haas Tooling, John Hunter with Dollar Tree, Family Dollar for Eric Jones, Tyler Reddick with the 23 with the Jordan brand band shoe scheme, the Hayek Motorsports Sunny D Chevy for Richard, the usual Blake Harris, Alex Bowman, Ally, Burt Myers, multi-time mod champion at Bowman Gray, and runs the southeast modifieds there. It has a ride with a team Amerivet number 50. Tony Uri will be his crew chief. Cody Ware in the 51. Keebler Gibbs in the 54 with Monster Energy. Fastenal for Ryan Priest in his debut for Roush, RFK. Garage 66 with Carl Long will have Garrett Smithley. Workforce will be on Michael McDowell's Spire 71. Delaware Life for Hocevar in the 77. The SVG Trackhouse will be on the 88. And then Daniel Suarez will have Freeway Insurance. So yeah, let's go. I don't know where picks wise. The last race we picked, Josh, you went first. So that was Formula One. But for Phoenix, yeah, Josh, you were first for the Cup Series there too. So I'll go. And in terms of who I think will be really good at Bowman Gray, it's got a lot of similarities to the Coliseum track that they've ran the last few years. You think about short tracks in this car have not been amazing, but there are certain teams that are able to put good setups under their cars. But there's also been certain cars that you wouldn't see up front every single week, pulling surprises. I'm going to select. I'm going to select Christopher Bell to get the victory on Sunday. My wild card for this race to make the main event, or just in general, my wild card is going to be Ryan Priest. I'm going to go with that. Multi-time modified champion. He's knows these kind of bull ring tracks very well. So Bowman Gray. Phil chooses what is it? Literally forgot what I say. Yeah, so Chris Bell to win, and and Priest. How about you, Josh?
My winner, I'm gonna go with Ryan Blaney winning the Clash there. And my wild card, I'm gonna go with Justin Haley, which new ride for him again in the Spire car, which does seem to be kind of up on the come up this year, with a kind of a retooled lineup there, with Michael McDowell also joining that team there, and Carson Husvar, the Rookie of the Year. But I do remember Justin Haley in the first Clash that they did at LA. He was up there competing in the top five for uh, quite a bit there, and then he got into it with Kyle Larson at some point during that race. But I think overall he's an underdog this year still, but I think you're going to be seeing a lot more of him this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he finished in the top five or something like that here at the Clash.
Yeah, there's a lot to take into account with the weather and the way these cars work on the short track. So it'll be interesting to see who hits the setup, because if you do hit the setup, I have a hard time believing you're going to be able to get past without having argy bargy take place. So see what happens for those guys. Josh, let us know what's going on, all things gaming and computer with the sim segment.
Yeah, of course. For iRacing, of course. I mean, we kind of alluded to it earlier, but the sim racing with NASCAR 25, that is, of course, like we said, going to have Cup, Xfinity, Truck, and ARCA. So it looks like they're going to have the full slate of series there, and you'll be able to work your way up, kind of like in Dirt to Daytona, or the original NASCAR Chase for the Cup that had the career mode from modifieds all the way up to the Cup Series. So we'll see how they model that there. Of course, ARCA, ARCA's not very populated these days in terms of the quality of field, but we'll see how that works out for them. But it'll be interesting if you come up with some myriad of sponsors for ARCA and you're competing amongst family fielded teams in the game. That would be hilarious, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, glad to see that they announced that, of course. And, it does give light to, especially with the way iRacing, I think it's definitely going to help not only the Cup Series, but I think also the Xfinity and Truck Series to have those teams featured as well, because in the past that they haven't quite fielded those cars quite regularly, and it's been the old EA Sports games had most of the Truck series, but a lot of those teams end up being, like, especially towards the back, end up being field fillers. So it'll be interesting to see if iRacing, they're able to go out and get the whole field for Xfinity and Truck, because they definitely need that to show the realism there, and like having fantasy drivers and stuff for those games. So that's definitely something to think about there, and look forward to. And then the other thing that happened this week on iRacing that's currently happening, the special event this week, the second special event for the year on iRacing, the Driven to Give 400, benefiting Dale Jr.'s Dale Jr. Foundation. And there's the broadcast event that happened last night on Twitch and I think on YouTube or something. But in any rate, the event is mini stock cars. It's a team event, 400 laps on Iowa Speedway. So different drivers, racing at different times. So you don't really see an oval team race like you do a road race. But it was interesting to see that. But one of the unique ways that made the broadcast interesting last night was that you could actually like buy a black flag or buy a penalty or something. So we saw people like Steve Myers, the president of iRacing right now, bought $100 penalty on Dale Jr. black flag. It's like, here, have some time to think about your NFL team's season. So you had that there. Max Verstappen went on there, so he bought 4 black flags, and said, let me see here, Let me see what he said, but um, he bought a bunch of black flags, and then you had let me see, iRacing. Sorry, going there. iRacing, yeah. Verstappen from Max Verstappen to Nimcross. Holidays ain't for everyone this week. So that's what he said. Four black flags there. That's $400. Somebody said, "Get well soon. Thank you for the caution donation." Then some guy just went and black flagged the entire top 10. So they sent $1,000 to Dale Jr. Foundation for black flagging the entire top 10. And of course, like I said, Dale Jr. giving you time to reflect on your end of your NFL season. So that was some stuff that made it cool. I didn't see who won that one. But I mean, you had all like the sim racing guys on there from years on end, going back to, Dale Jr. was talking about going back to NASCAR 2003, back on the old DMP racing league that he used to run back in those days. So a lot of people from the community, from sim racing and in racing in general, came out. Dale Jr. was in it, not only him, but I think a lot of his JRM team was in it. So they were in it there. But yeah, glad to see people raising money for his foundation there, and definitely unique sim racing event, of course, with all the donations and the way to make it fun and everything. So it's still ongoing, I think, throughout this weekend. So if you weren't able to compete in the broadcast, definitely split. And and I think to enter, you had to spend like $400 for the whole team. So that was part of it as well for the broadcast split. And then it's still ongoing. I don't think it's I don't know if it's paid entry or not, but for the rest of it, but that'll be going on through Saturday. So still time to compete and try to assemble a team together if you're trying to race with the mini stock for 400 laps on Iowa Speedway in the game. But got that. The Bathurst 12 hours, so road racing special event this weekend as well. So endurance sim racers get on there and compete for that event. So that'll be ongoing, and saw some teams getting assembled already. I haven't been able to do that, and I've never driven on Bathurst, so I'll be skipping this one out. But might have to consider Sebring or something else just to get more seat time in the LMP2 or in the GTP or GT3 class car. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so be preparing. Otherwise, be preparing for the Daytona 500 coming up here. So be looking out for that here in 3 weeks, which that's not too far away now. So yeah, of course, you can go just to give attention to the Dale Jr. event. You can go on iRacing's Twitch right now, I think, and watch the replay of that. I'm sure other people on YouTube had their, or Twitch had their own stream, so you can just go look up that event. It's pretty cool to watch that, and be able to see all the sim racing personalities and some of the NASCAR personalities come together for that charity event, which is cool. And then of course my Twitch at Twitch TV/USailor2. You can go on there and watch all the streams. 24 hours of Daytona is up there. You're gonna have to download that one and save that one locally before it gets taken down, or before it gets washed away by Twitch or whatever, how they manage their streams. So you can just have a copy of my race there. So study that for next year. And then should mention that they did actually give the awards away for the 24 hours of Daytona, which if you win a special event on iRacing of any kind, they give you a PDF file certificate. So if you're finishing second in class at the iRacing 24 hours of Daytona, we got a PDF certificate there. So I'm gonna have to print that one out, or at least save that one off. I've got the Indy 500 one saved off on the computer, so I have to go up on there. And then maybe one day we'll get the iRacing 24 hours of Daytona first class, at least first in class. I mean, hopefully first overall, but first in class would be nice too. So maybe next year we'll be able to do that, as long as we don't make any mistakes. So got that there. Of course, Twitter, JP Huffine, of course, going there. And we didn't even talk about the Jags hiring a new coach, but glad to see that happen, and glad that one shook down finally. So we got a coach. Liam Cohen went down like a spy novel there with how they basically, bought a private plane for him and flew him out in secret, which I don't know how do you fly a guy out in secret to interview, a secret interview, and get him to be your head coach. And then now Tampa Bay mad. So people on Jags Twitter roasting Tampa Bay for acting like basically like an ex-girlfriend after their boyfriend breaks up with them or whatever, losing Liam Cohen and all that. So yeah, be talking about that, and of course all the Super Bowl and NASCAR takes as we begin the season. Probably share some of my photography on there as well. So yeah, JP Huffine on Twitter, and then of course our Scripture podcast on YouTube. Go on there and subscribe, and we'll have this one up as soon as possible. And yeah, go and watch our earlier stuff and these last couple of episodes, and this one of course too have Phil with the Fall Brawl plaque and wrestling belt trophy. So for people in the wrestling league or in the fantasy league for Fall Brawl, see Phil with this great trophy on there and see just the glory of the commissioner holding the trophy on live and everything. So glad to have that, and hopefully next year be on the other side on this end. We'll see.
Well, it's definitely, we're adding more to it. I've got a whole trophy case collection here in this corner over here by my desk. It's nice to be able to hold this belt. Just updated our plaques on here to show the recent champions. I moved the multi-champions onto one part of one of the plaques, and then on the other plaque is the single champions. So we have 4 players that have won multiple titles. I'm 6-time. You have 2 3-time champions, and then Joe as a 2-time champion there. There's a 10-year gap between. I also have a 10-year gap along with Vic for championships. So it's like the Terry Labonte thing. For me, you can find me at PGMGSP 28 on Blue Sky. You can find me at PGMGSP 28 on Insta. Then you have on Twitter. We have what is it? PG Matthew 28. I should just probably change it to PGMGSP and just save myself the trouble. And on Telegram, Facebook. You can find us on Twitter at GripstraPod. You can find us on YouTube as well, on top of our regular page. On my page, the audio feed, when the executive producer decides to get that out there. Then you have philipgmatthew.com, another place to go and find the show. So, and sorry to wave completely, was like I was head down just thinking about racing, and then I thought about the games, and we'll talk about it more. The weird way that Liam Cohen said Duval or whatever, or Jags or whatever, the drama of him going and not taking the job, then whatever. That'll be interesting. Need more time to talk about that, to be fair. So we'll talk about it after the Clash and use that as a lead into the Super Bowl. And I mean, Niners hired back Bob Saleh, and they hired a new special teams coordinator. So we'll definitely talk about that next episode. For Josh, as always, thank you for all your hard work and for being a great friend and being able to, I think, maybe figure out a way to get content out another way, going and you and Joe collaborating with them photos. So that might be an idea. That might be a way to go. But thank you for all your contributions, for all your insights here. Help, of course, for me as I was trying to learn how to sim race as well. We'll see you next time. Episode 255 of the GSP will be the first one with NASCAR for 2025. So get the season going, see what Madhouse is like. If it is truly, it lives up to its name. If somebody goes and tries to use their car as a weapon, or you have a redneck fight or something like that, some white trash nonsense going on with red hats, we'll see what happens with that. But we'll definitely talk about it all on the GSP next time. So for Josh, I'm Phil. Take care and goodbye.